Hello and welcome to this exciting edition of Popmaster. Oh no, hang on, no. The Comedy Slab. I thought we'd do this week's in a Scottish accent. I've adopted Ken Bruce. I'm channeling a bit of Ken Bruce this time round. Adrian, who are you choosing to...
Oh, thanks for the warning. Can I just explain? No one will believe me, but you've just foisted this on me like an unwanted kilt.
I can't help it. I'm a natural-born foister.
You are. You're total foister. Well, given that of the two of us, I've got probably more Scottish genes than you.
You're wearing them now, aren't you?
I am the new. Gosh, this is really going to alienate our Glaswegian listener. Yes, I'm part Scot, but yes, doesn't guarantee the quality of accent. My grandfather used to, it was virtually self-parody the way he'd switch it on. Well, that's how it seemed to my southern namby-pamby English ear. I mean, he'd moved down south years before, but it's really, you'd crank it up to 11 like.
Yeah, I had a mate who lived in Birmingham, and when he used to go back home, he lived just outside Edinburgh, his family did. They also say, "Oh, you've got such an English accent, you sound like a Brummie." I mean, he didn't. He was like pure Scottish, but to their ear, he was like, really. I think I had another friend who was Scottish, and he had a terrible situation where he used to play the bagpipes. He was really quite good, actually. He wasn't a bad player.
Is that the terrible situation?
Well, for a lot of people it was. Obviously not for him. He chose to take up the sport. But and he left the bagpipes in his car outside his house one night. And he got up the next morning, somebody had smashed the window on the car and left another set.
I didn't see that coming. You horror.
That's a cracker. Oh, anyway, sorry, where were we? Oh, yeah, welcome to the Comedy Slab Podcast. If you never caught up with us before, we dissect and we never. I was going to say we rip apart, but we never rip apart. We're far too gentlemanly for that. But we do dissect and gently probe the carcass of the comedy that we'll be watching or listening to on any particular given week. I choose one week, he chooses one the opposite week, and we've introduced this new thing as well now, if you're not caught up with us for a while, where we try and guess what the other one thinks.
I'm too tired for that.
So the one who's choosing has to try and guess what the one who has watched it or listened to it thinks. If you see what I mean, it'll become apparent as thing goes on.
Well, I hope so. Even I don't follow that. I'm the choosee. You're the chooser this week. So have I got to prime myself? I've got to guess what I thought I was going to think of it. No, you've got to guess what you think I'm going to think of it.
I've got to guess what I think of it.
I don't think I like this pitch.
And then when I've done that, I've got to guess what you thought of it. That's right, isn't it? Because I chose.
I'm not convinced, but well, fortunately, we make our own rules as we go along. But yeah, we'll wing it.
Anyway, I mean, to cut a long story short, there's a lot of choosing and there's a lot of guessing. There's a lot of thinking, really, over the next probably about an hour. We'll play 3 clips of the chosen comedy, and the chosen comedy, if you want to play it along at home, by the way, just look away now.
On the laser scoreboard.
The chosen comedy this week is Fags, Mags and Bags. That's Fags, Mags and Bags. I never know where to put the emphasis on that one. Is it? In fact, this is a gag in the show, actually, isn't it? But Fags. Do you see the emphasis on the fags or the mags and the bags?
I think it's on the first one. Yeah, it's the fags, mags, and bags.
Mags and bags.
Well, you have to go up at the end as well. I'm being very dense here. Now I know why you've done the Scottish accent.
Oh yeah, because it's a Scottish programme, isn't it? Yeah,
and I'm very, very drunk.
There's a question for you, because for people who don't know Adrian, he is very drunk. I mean, he's not lying about that. But you've done a spell as continuity announcer, haven't you? And now on.
I don't like to brag, but yes. One's voice has been heard across the nation, by which I mean all 4 nations, confusingly.
And now on the adult channel.
Well, I did do some time, for there's no other term for it, on Channel 5.
Oh, did you?
But then I got let off after I'd served 50% of my sentence.
Did you ever meet Richard Desmond, or didn't he own it then?
Oh, no, I'd left by the time he took over. Although I'm not sure. I mean, I never met anyone in senior management in any of my roles as an announcer. It's not something that they literally don't darken the doors. I think it's seen as beneath them.
See, I would if I was a senior manager. That's probably why I'm not, isn't it? But
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd be down there and go, "Oh, that's what you look like. I keep hearing your voice. Oh, you're a bit freaky, aren't you? Are those your ears?"
That's why we don't put you on camera. You would say,
right? Okay. So the question is, did anybody ever say to you that you got the emphasis wrong on that? You should do that, or you don't say this. Like the other reason I ask is the blood service phoned me up.
Where is this going?
Yes.
Did you say half an armful.
And their call centre is based in Northern Ireland. And he said, "Hello, is that Shane O'Connor? How are you? What about you?" And I said, "Yes, it is." And he said,
"No stereotyping there, by the way."
No, that's how he sounded. He's a real bloke. And he said, "So where's your nearest donor centre?" He said, I've gone to Terry Wogan now. He said,
"Oh, the old donor centre."
And there's a place about 3 miles from me called Rugeley.
You thought he said, "Where's the nearest donut centre?" you steered him to Dunkin' Donuts in Birmingham. No wonder you need a transfusion, mate. You're 80% saturated fat and you're furred up arteries.
I need a transplant, no, not a transfusion. But he said, there's this place called Rugeley, and he said, would your nearest one be Rugeley?
Rugeley. He said it. Well, thank you very much, sir.
And I said, it's Rugeley. He went, oh, so I said, no, don't worry. There's probably plenty of places in Northern Ireland that I can't pronounce, so, it's even Stevens. But yeah, I just wondered if anybody, when you were doing your announcing, said...
Oh, yeah, I had a green biro. No, it's actually a poison typed letter at Radio 3. If it's going to be anyway. No, don't laugh. Mock ye not thine AD. Oh. But anyway, I don't know why I went Kenneth Williams then. I meant to go Frankie Howard. Setting the scene very briefly, we'd actually had a broadcast that I had to follow, which had come from Scotland. And instead of coming out on the half hour, they came out a minute early. And I was, okay, you're always prepared to fill, but you don't quite expect it in that situation. So I was slightly discombobulated. I had something to fill with. But in the process, I mispronounced the name of the composer, Barclay, as Berkeley.
Oh, God.
And my boss, the presentation editor, who did darken the doors, good man, but he got a letter, and they typed, and it was, this was 20 years ago maybe, but it was on an old knackered manual typewriter with the letters, it looks like one of those death threats or if you're going to hold someone to ransom, you'd use one of these dodgy typewriters.
Yeah.
And it said in capital letters, I'll never forget it, the word unforgivable, preceded by "this is unforgivable." And I thought, I didn't say it to the boss, I thought that'll only inflame things, but I thought, well, if it's unforgivable, I'm not going to apologise because you're not going to forgive me.
Unforgivable, that's what you are. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, what people get all sort of vexed about.
They were right. They were right on the issue. And, I was paid to get it right. I was cross with myself. That's the thing they don't factor in. That you don't go to work and think, oh, how much can I mess up today so that I upset Mr. I think he was actually in Purley. He could have signed off Mr. Angry for all I knew.
From Purley, yeah. It reminds me of that Victoria Wood always used to say that, didn't she? She said there was an outrage. She said somebody went, so that's kind of about the
very southern
about the depth. I mean, like most people would just like go, oh, he said that wrong, or and walk past their radio and have a titter or what's the world coming to? Why to sit down and get your typewriter.
It's commitment. But it's part of me that actually admires the commitment in a very sick way.
No, you see, I was just thinking this when I get letters when I worked in radio, and I think that the problem is that if they've got the tenacity to sit down and do that, they've got the tenacity to sit down and assemble a long-range rifle, haven't they? You know what I mean?
Well, that's the worry, yeah. And we this was pre-social or anti-social media days. We now know how many angry people are out there because it's all in writing now.
Yeah.
Not just Mr. Angry from Purley.
And they're all on my account. Weird, isn't it?
And they're all getting angry that we're not talking about fags, mags and bags. But
I'll tell you what. Should we do that then? I'll tell you. We'll give him a Brucey bonus? Should we not only talk about it, but we'll let him have
Ken
a listen
Brucey
as well?
bonus.
Potmaster. That's the only word I could do as Ken Bruce. Yeah, Fags, Mags and Bags. What can I tell you about it? Written by Sanjeev, Kohli and Donald Mcleary, who also star in it as well. It's set, as you would imagine, if you haven't got the idea of the title yet. It's set in a shop in
I thought you were saying a laundrette, just to be perverse. Set in a zoo. It's somewhere in Hungary.
It's set in an aircraft hangar in Malaysia. No, it's set in a shop in Scotland. That it's like a kind of sweet and cigarette shop, but it's kind of almost like a general store kind of place, isn't it? They sell kind of everything. I think
we can be a bit more precise than Scotland, can't we? Before
Lenzie?
Mr. Angry from Lenzie writes in.
Yeah, well, I didn't even. Do you know? It's only in doing the research for this show I knew Lenzie was a real place. I thought it was.
Oh yeah, did you think it was fictitious?
I thought it was mid up, as they say in Scotland. Anyway, should we have a quick listen and set the scene? As is usually the case, I like to do a clip from quite early on in the episode because I think that very often, there's a lot of business gets done kind of around the first few minutes, and it gives you an idea. We catch up with two of the characters, Dave and Sanjay, and a little bit later Ramesh, who owns the shop. Basically, they're all in the shop just having a chat.
You can't beat your local paper. I love Wednesday, or Lenzie Trumpet Day as I call it.
You have never called it that? You pure charger in a drawer that nobody knows what it charges?
Aye, well, that's how tradition starts, Sanjay. I've just decided. Lenzie Trumpet Day. I mean, that festival where the cheese all goes down a hill and all the villagers chase the cheese, that had to start somewhere, didn't it?
Well, I'm very surprised that made it past the first meeting. Chasing cheese down a hill. It's a bit far-fetched.
How?
Well, cheese is too perishable. It would disintegrate on descent.
Oh, I think that's the point, Ramesh. It's a metaphor for the human condition. You go chasing after something, and by the time you reach it, it isn't what you thought it was.
Yes. Metaphor for this thing, huh? Life.
Aye. And there's all grass and dog dirt and a bus ticket, weirdly, where there should be chives.
Worst metaphor evs. Hashtag worst metaphor evs.
Right, Dave, what is the meat that is in the trumpet?
Right, let's have a look-see-osy with the eyesy-wisies. I see that Elizabeth Curtains has turned 90.
Who is Elizabeth Curtains?
Well, she's a Lensington who's just turned 90, seemingly. There's a picture of her there looking, 90.
Oh, Dave. Look at the footwear.
High-tech badminton trainers.
It is her! The woman who looks like Charles Horty who wears the high-tech badminton trainers.
Oh, this is me, isn't it? But then I throw to you to tell me what I think about it.
You are the woman who looks like Charles Horty who wears the high-tech badminton trainers.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to do a slight digression, but it's not like we aren't used to doing that. And our dear, supportive listeners, fortunately, are very patient on this one. There's an obvious connection between Charles Hawtrey and a certain comedy franchise, which is...
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Carry on.
Okay, I'll give you a longer clue then. Oh, yes. No, you're right. Carry on. Okay. Carry on, Adrian. What might be a second association, particularly if you like or liked a little bit of pop music?
No.
Certain Morrissey chappie in the Smiths.
I was never into that. I was never into the Smiths at
well,
all.
Clearly not. Otherwise, you'd have got the answer. And Charles Hawtrey, well, someone will shout again at their device. I had a feeling it was "I Would Go Out Tonight." That one, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
One. But I just love his visage, and it was always a beautiful black and white portrait. All that series of Smiths singles around that time, late 80s, I suppose.
Charles Hawtrey, eh? Right. Do you want me to tell you what I think you think before you think you tell me what you think?
Yes, I think I do.
Okay. I think you thought it was okay, kind of middle of the road. You'd give it a 2.5, but you'd knock half off because you'd only want to give it 2 because you found it a little bit childish.
I think you've got me down as someone far too mature. Well, I'm not going to give my score away just yet, but for new listeners, we will give each a score out of 5 at the end of the show, or pretty much towards the end of the show. It's not about childishness. The problem I have with it, you speak as if you don't think. It feels like I've been listening to it on and off, well, mostly off, for years. I found out it had, did you see, a 3-year hiatus. They claimed in 2000 13. That was going to be the last one.
Oh, right.
Series 3, perhaps.
Right.
Had a 3-year break and then came back. Yes, I'm always intrigued what's going on there.
What I didn't realise was that Kayvan Novak played Alok, didn't he, in the first series? Did you see that?
Better known as Phone Jacker.
Phone Jacker and Face Jacker and he did some other stuff, just like normal sitcom-y stuff as well, didn't he? But
did he?
Yeah, I think so. But anyway, go on then. So, so what are you saying, that you this is the first time you ever heard it?
No, it's the first time I've properly listened, beginning to end. Because, after 8 or 9 series, regular listeners might know, I do default to Radio 4, and we all got our cross to bear, and bless it. No, I'm an old style sort of what's on the radio at the moment kind of thing, as well as listening and catch up and all of that. And it just seems to have run forever, and it turns out it has been running for nearly forever, or at least over a period of over 10 years. Is it 2007?
2007, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I've never once heard one beginning to end. Now, that is a bit of a clue, is it not? Because if I thought, those 5 minutes are really good, the next logical progression is I'll listen to a whole one. And there's no excuse in this day and age of catch-up, if I was drawn to it. But I wiped the slate clean, as I always attempt to, as we both do, really, independently, don't we? When we come to a Comedy Slab something. Back me up on this. First listen, we try and do like a, quote, normal person, and then a second listen or viewing if it's TV.
I do it with my pants on my head. Like an abnormal person.
That's a situation normal, I thought.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
But fortunately, we're audio only. But I'm afraid how I've tried to like it.
So you didn't like it when you dipped in and out? Is that what you're saying as well?
And by dipping in and out, that is literally, it's on at the moment when I'm washing up or putting on a cup of tea or putting on the kettle, whatever. And I've never ever wanted to follow up, and that I've almost got PTSD symptoms with the jingle. Get at it, get at it, get at it, get at it. It's not even a tune. It's just this kind of haunting rhythm. Well, it isn't really.
Well, it is. It's called Smiling, and it's by the Beta Band.
Sing it then, if it's a tune.
You bought it, you loved it, you read it.
That's not a tune. That's monotone. People will notice you're on the same note.
Well, that's what it is.
Well, it's not a tune.
But it is a tune. It's called Smiling by the Beta Band.
I thought you were going to say the Beatles. I'd have to...
You see, I think the theme tune, is as iconic almost as the one we did last week when we were talking about Flagpole Sitter by Harvey Danger for Peep Show.
Oh, gosh, don't bracket those together. I was with you on Flagpole Sitter, although why it's spelled S-I-T-T-A.
It's cool, isn't it?
Unlike what you just did.
In it.
Stop it. You're an embarrassment, if we're talking old hits.
So... you had the same feeling as when you did the, should we call it when you were going through your disparate washing up phase?
Disparate?
Yes.
Yes.
Junior disparate.
That was a disparate gag, if I may say so. That was the pause. Why is he saying disparate in front of washing up? Anyway, let's just park that and move on. Weren't you going to tell us? I'm getting the sense. I mean, it doesn't always follow that the chooser is a fan of what they choose. We should make that clear again, if it's not been clear previously, or if someone's a new listener to the Slab. So it doesn't follow that you're a fan just because you set it as homework for me and for our listeners over the last week.
No.
But I'm getting the sense you are actually a fan. I mean, if you talk about the music like that.
Here's the thing. Well, I like the tune, but here's the thing.
It's not a tune.
Well, it is a tune. It's by the
one
Beta
note.
Band.
It's a rhythm, and that is it. There is no tune. Pray continue.
Oh, I don't know. It's a weird thing actually for me, because I like you.
Do you? I like you.
I like you, baby. I like you. Dipped in and out. I mean, I listened to it in the car, I think, years ago, 2007, when I was out and about in the car, and I'd heard episodes of it, and I quite liked it. I really like the sound and the humour of Sanjeev Kohli. And I presume Donald Mcleary as well, because they write it together. But I like the guy who owns the shop in this. I could listen to him all day because I think he's funny. I think his delivery is just funny. And I've seen him in other stuff as well, Sanjeev Kohli. I was watching, he was in an episode of the IT Crowd where he had a very minor part. But he's a funny guy. I mean, there's no question about it. He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
And I kind of came to this because I'd long left the fold. I'd listened probably the first 4 series, something like that. Mm-hmm. I knew roughly what it was all about and roughly who the characters were and roughly what their shtick was. But to come back to it, I was kind of like a bit disappointed, I think, probably. Yeah. It wasn't bad, though. And see, to me, and I don't know what you think of this, let me float something by you. I thought a long while ago, or quite a while ago, we listened to a programme, in fact, it's Comedy Slab 64, if you want to go back and check it out.
One of my favourites.
Well, 64 was a great year. We listened to a programme called Clearing the Community.
That's interesting. I was going to bring her on the case against...
And I think it's got a similar kind of feel, although I really didn't like the characters in that. And I think the difference for me is it's got a similar kind of feel, but I really like the characters.
Right. Well, I was going to say that there's a difference for me, which is something actually flipping happens in Claire and the Community. I know you weren't fulsome in your praise, which is putting it very mildly and politely, because I was hurt being a huge Sally Phillips fan.
See, I'm not so much of a Sally Phillips fan either, really.
Well, yeah, if you can't get past that, it being a Sally Phillips vehicle, it's probably not going to be your thing. But the problem I have, and we must get on to our second of 3 audio clips, which will prove my point, except for people who take your view perhaps more, or you're a bit more sympathetic towards it. But I hear what you're saying, that your view is not quite what it was. But it's just wordy.
Very
which
wordy.
is somewhat ironic when you consider how we digress and carry on talking.
No.
But that is the deal of the Comedy Slab. It is wordy.
Can I give you another word to use instead of wordy?
You can.
How about, and this is how I thought, but I think we're on the same page, clunky. I found the writing very clunky. It's like that in that clip where Sanjay says... because he calls everything, it's a pure this and a pure that. That is part of his catchphrase sort of thing. Your pure charger in a drawer that nobody knows what it charges. And you kind of think, how do you think, oh no, strike that out. We've got to write something else better than that. Something a little bit, I mean, it hasn't got to be.
Well, trying to see it from the writer's perspective, is that not the joke in a way, that he's an angry teenager, isn't he, who comes out with it?
Yeah.
And isn't that the point, that he's not got this vast reserve of polished gems of words?
Well, you see, I think the better joke, and I don't know whether people immediately notice that this is what's happening, but I think it's a bit like in not in The Simpsons, in Family Guy, that nobody talks to Stewie. In the early episodes, nobody could understand Stewie, and unless you noticed it, you would never have noticed that nobody.
He's
the baby,
right?
So nobody could understand the baby. No, but apart from Brian the dog. But with this, every time Sanjay says something, nobody responds. Nobody ever responds to it. They just, in fact, in that clip there, they just move on and just talk about something else. And I like as a gag, you know, it's a bit too formulaic for me, this idea that you're right, he's an angry young man, but he kind of says the same catchphrasey kind of stuff all the while, like, it's hashtag whatever is his big thing as well. That he says. Yeah. But the fact that everybody ignores him, I thought it was a bigger gag. I mean, maybe maybe you make more of that. I don't know. I don't know if you even noticed it. But...
I didn't. But that's the kind of thing perhaps you pick up over time. And of course, I'll be listening for it now. Are you going to set the scene for clip number 2?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of plots and subplots going on. Like the provost comes in. Who's I didn't realise what a provost was. Do you know what a provost was?
I had to look it up. Sort of Scottish mayor, isn't it?
Yeah,
equivalent.
I'd never come across that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mayor's in at one stage, and they're having a race, a ladies' race called Lady Chase. Which is what the episode's called, actually, Lady Chase. Yeah, they're having this. One of their regulars comes in and says that she's taking part in this Lady Chase, and they kind of get drawn into it. The guys in the shop and get involved in it. But the Lady Chase team have assembled in the shop. They've been off to do their training and have a run round, and they've come back for some refreshments to the shop.
Here they are, the Lady Chase team. Good training session.
Oh, he's a good at Brutus.
Oh, here you are, ladies. I prepared a Lady Chase training recovery pack.
Is it gluten-free? Oh. The world isn't a film about you, Hilly Buerdine.
It could be. It could be a film about me. In fact, it could be a Netflix series.
Oh, yeah? What's happening in your life that merits streaming?
Well, on Tuesday, I had to talk a very difficult alpaca out of a lock-up garage.
Oh, fair enough. I'd actually watch that. Stretched over 13 episodes. Starring that lass from The Handmaid's Tale. Not that one, the other one.
Oh.
I stand corrected.
Thanks. I've still not had a gluten response. I don't mean a response with gluten in it because...
Oh, shut your teeth, Helly. It's only a froob.
Yes, a froob, frozen and gluten-free, a tracker bar.
I can't have that. I'm allergic to peanuts.
Oh, that's a shame, that.
Are you going to enlighten me as to what a foob or a froob is, or is one the gluten-free version of the other?
They're like, aren't they like the tubes that you freeze?
Frozen tube.
You know, like
Sure,
like an ice pop. Do you remember? Do you used to have those as a kid?
Or popsicle.
Yeah,
No,
that
that's
kind
not
of. Isn't it
that's
strange that this is where we are as a level now? That I say to you, "Can you tell me what a provost is?" And you say to me, "Can you tell me what a froob is?" It's a match made in heaven, isn't it?
Really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We really should have got married all those years ago.
I know, but it's too late now, darling.
I think the world's moved on. Before that ends in court, as it surely must, how did you feel about the first line in that clip? Let's just remind ourselves.
Here they are, the Lady Chase team. Good training session.
Isn't that a pet hate of yours?
Yeah.
Oh, look, Vicar, put that gun down that you're pointing at me now.
Yeah.
But in saying that, it's easy for us to criticise such a line because it's not TV. But how might you write around that?
Well, I think it almost doesn't stand out in this particular episode. I was going to say this particular series, but or this show, but it's probably a bit unkind because I've not studied in depth all the other ones. But in the episode, because the writing is very clunky, and what did you say is very wordy. I don't think minor indiscretions like that kind of stand out as much because you're kind of thinking, why would you say that? I found it's really weird. I had a strange relationship with the characters. I don't know what you thought, but I like the characters, but I found them at the same time very unbelievable. They're all overblown, overdrawn.
Well, they're as annoying as the woman who always says everything is as and ends on the word as well.
Yeah.
That all feels a bit forced to me. Look, we never go out to be unkind, and I'm particularly mindful of this as I've just put up a little comedy allegory on my own solo project, the London Podcast, which is at londonpodcast.net. And so these things, I mean, all the things we can critique so easily, they can take hours to sort, sweating over, and some of the things that aren't. And some things are barely solvable sometimes, or that you just have to accept that it's artifice. We have to somehow believe it's a real shop with real people, but at the same time, it's got to deliver a story in 28, 29 minutes, hasn't it? And that's not quite how life works out. So somewhere between the two extremes of totally unbelievable and sort of shoehorned in or whatever it is, that's where the good stuff lies. I mean, I can even unpick my own critique of this in that things do happen, don't they? Yes, it's wordy, but things do happen. There is actually a story, beginning, middle, and end. And we can, even people who haven't heard the full show, just from the clips of starting to piece things together, it's got a shape. So I wonder why it still feels to me that nothing's happening. And I just return to this wordiness, which is itself my own wordiness. I don't know, help me out here.
I know it's a radio.
Because things are happening, aren't they? Why do I feel nothing's happening?
I think it's because it is all seen from the perspective of the shop. There is very little written outside of the shop. And knowing the other episodes I listened to, I think most of them are like that, is that it doesn't, you don't seem to get a change of air at all.
Right.
Now, you'd think with the radio show, you think, well, that wouldn't matter as much as with the TV show because it's all about the words and the sound of it and the characters. But I think it does matter. Would that make sense to you?
I'm chewing over it in real time. It might be part of it. Yeah, I mean, in this particular episode, yes, we go outside for the lady chase, as it were, or as it turns out, a different kind of chase.
You don't feel you've gone very far, though, do you? You feel like you're just outside the door almost.
No, but then the counter argument, or is it the counterfactual? I just want to get the word counterfactual in because I quite like it, but I don't think I'm using it properly. But the argument against that is, and we've talked about this, haven't we, in the past, that sitcoms are meant to be based around confinement. We grew up to the sound of a whole load of sitcoms just based in the home. Or very much in the home. And that might have been, was certainly TV-wise, as much to do with limited budgets way back when as anything else. But you might argue limited imaginations in some cases.
Do you know, I always used to, as a kid, and I never knew why, but and it probably wouldn't surprise you to know that I watched a lot of comedy as a kid, but as a child, I always remember perking up whatever I was watching when there was a film sequence. And in those days, in the 70s, when you watched a comedy like that, all of the pre-recorded stuff was always done on film and always looked very different, didn't it? But I always like, like on the buses, they're out there driving, they're actually on a bus, they're going down the high street, and it always used to perk me up. It's weird, that, isn't it?
I think we were both non-standard children. I used to perk up, I used to hang around a slightly different type of comedy. Wouldn't really apply to sitcoms normally. I was thinking this as I made my most recent podcast, because it's got a little tag at the end and then one or two outtakes, but ignore those. The tag at the end is what I used to sit there waiting for. And I'd be so upset if a show just ended on the credits. Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
And then the announcer would come in, of course. So I'm not sure. I will go away and chew about that. But of course, here's a counter example. Do you like the use of the word counter when we're talking about a shop-based sitcom?
I think it's very good.
I've only just noticed. Porridge. I mean, as you said when we reviewed the Christmas edition, as we did, funnily enough, at Christmas, as 1976 special, burned into my brain, you said, and what a sit this sitcom has, meaning the situation, of course. Well, you could go outside, you could have a breakout and blah, 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 but essentially you are stuck in a prison. So if that was the only problem, then you wouldn't like Porridge, would you?
I don't know, because I think there is no comparison, no disrespect to the creators of this show, Sanjeev, Kohli and Donald Mcleary. I'm not being unkind to them. I'm sure they would be the first to concede that it's a different caliber of writing. Porridge is. I mean, if I was a writer, that's what I would aspire to. That kind of. I mean, the writing is just. Well, I was just thinking
they probably do, though. To be fair to them, I mean, you go out. You don't go out to say, "I'll just write a middling sitcom."
Yeah, but I mean, it is. it's head and shoulders above, isn't it? Don't you think? I mean, I do anyway. I'll drag you into it.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
it's all right.
above.
I do agree. And again, I want to be respectful to these the writers of this show. By the way, really unfair. On Wikipedia, Donald Mcleary is in red, and we all know what that means in wiki visual speak.
No.
It means there's nothing, if you try and click on it, there's nothing, it doesn't go anywhere. Whereas Sanjeev Kohli is in blue, which means there's a hyperlink.
Oh, right.
Yeah, strange but true.
Can I just say, because I wanted to squeeze a little clip
I bet
at
you
it.
did. Oh, is this my cue?
Yeah, but not yet. Hang on a second. Because what I wanted to say was that
Yeah.
they make references to popular culture which are a bit difficult to follow. Some of them...
It helps if you're Scottish, I think.
Well, not necessarily. It was like in that clip there, she said something about starring the woman from The Handmaid's Tale, not that one, the other one.
Oh,
or
yeah, now
something.
now that's getting a bit subtle, isn't it? Not that one.
I had no idea what that meant.
No, you'd have to know Handmaid's Tale, and presumably we're talking about, the Channel 4 series as opposed to the movie? Or is she talking about a character, not an actress?
Is it? I thought it was a Netflix series, wasn't it? The Handmaid's Tale, isn't that Netflix? Because that's what she was. That's what they were talking
Anyway,
about.
but there
Netflix,
was a
wasn't there?
full-length feature film, but that goes back.
No,
20 years odd.
but that one went over my head, and this is the point with when you quote from popular culture is that the person listening to it has to know the popular culture. The one that I really got was they were saying about somebody was allergic to Sondra Locke. And he said...
That's lost me.
And it was Clint Eastwood's wife. And it said that...
Oh, and then he said, so there's a whole load of Clint Eastwood films you can't see.
And then he said, turn right, you big monkey, which was from Any Which Way But Loose, wasn't it, with Clyde,
God, that's
the
subtle.
gorilla. I know. So, but I knew that one, and I kind of thought, well, yes, 10 points to me.
But do we believe the guy in the shop would know it? And how many of the listeners... myself included, would know it.
Yeah, nobody ever stopped and went, what do you mean by that? I have no idea what you're on about.
No.
Which is,
could you expound on that?
But then, it's not like real life, is it? I mean, nobody ever sneezes in a sitcom unless it's for comedic effect, do they? It's like, you don't...
Fair dues.
I suppose. But to that end, I ended up kind of doing sort of like sub-research because...
Is that meta-research?
Because he said something about at one point they said, it's like a Falkirk wheel for the neck tattoo generation. And I thought,
they're so mainstream, aren't they?
stop everything, I've got to look this up now. So I stopped to have a look, because I thought the Falkirk wheel, I thought it was going to be something, like the Millennium Eye. I thought it was going to be like kind of
an attraction.
Yeah, like a kind of what's the London Eye or whatever it's called, that that kind of, they had one in Birmingham as well. But we left ours on the ground. It didn't go up in the air. But anyway, so I thought it was. But the Falkirk wheel, did you know what the Falkirk wheel was?
No.
It's a boat lift. It joins two canals. One is about 100 foot from... Well, anyway, I found this clip on...
Is this sorry to interrupt. We will play this. But did it have a military purpose, cutting across...
No, it's quite recent.
No.
It's quite a new thing.
No, I'm thinking something else.
Play the clip.
All right.
The Falkirk wheel is a rotating boat lift. It connects the Forth and Clyde Canal with the Union Canal.
But here's the thing. I thought this was a clip of a sitcom. At any moment, they were going to break the fourth wall and say, just kidding. It's nothing of the kind. I really thought that. I thought that was part of the joke.
I took that off for no other reason than I thought the bloke's voice is absolutely fantastic.
Well, it is.
It's
but
so deep. The Falkirk wheel is a boat canal. And I thought, wow.
You didn't mess with him.
Yeah, I thought you could hear his tattoos, couldn't you?
Because true.
But yeah, so, and my point is that in real terms, if you were sitting there watching it, the difficulty with that as a listener, listening to it, the difficulty with that as a listener is that you, for me, anyway, I don't know if this happens to you, your mind wanders.
Sorry, I wasn't listening for a moment. What did you say? Bum, Mr. Derek.
Do you know what I mean? You kind of stimulate the imagination, and I can imagine myself sat in the car going, "What's the Falkirk wheel then? What's that?"
Or you might actually, worse still, you might go on your smartphone these days and on your wiki app, look it up, and of course, if you're listening in real time to it going out, you're missing all the gags in the meantime and the plot.
Or if it's you, the washing up liquid congealed.
Is that the disparate washing up liquid?
Yeah, junior disparate washing up liquid has
done that,
or your
Jack.
water's gone cold or whatever, or, so. Anyway, should we have the final clip?
I think it's high time.
Okay. It's the only point in the show, I think, where we head outside the shop, as you mentioned before, that when they go to start the lady chase race,
Is that the Mrs. Mace chase that was such a disgrace? It was a Two Runners sketch. The Mrs. Mace case was such a disgrace.
Did you hear who Malcolm was, by the way? Did you hear who played Malcolm?
She's a she.
Yeah.
I know that much. Oh,
Mina Anwar.
Is it the Deacon Blue woman?
The thin blue line.
Oh, no. Because there is the woman who does the shoe wop de wops in Deacon Blue. She's in this.
Is she?
Yeah. I've lost my train of cheating on the screen. Anyway, right. No, I sort of, I glossed over what you said.
No, Mina Anwar was Constable Habib in the Thin Blue Line.
Which I worked on one of the episodes.
Oh, did you?
I did, actually.
Oh,
my
cool.
favourite line was referring to going to the drinks machine and could you get me a tea-flavoured drink while you're there? That just tickled me at the time. Out of context, it doesn't really work. Over to you. Sorry, I interrupted your explanation, your scene set.
No, I was just asking you why she was called Malcolm. Do you know?
Oh, no, but I wonder, is that one of those jokes that the joke is you never explain it?
Oh, it could be. I'll have to go back and listen, because I know you won't. I'll have to go back and listen from the start of episode 1.
Oh, no, I can't face it again. Sorry. Doing it twice was enough.
Anyway, the lady called Malcolm. Before the lady chase race, Malcolm says that she wants to say a few words to the gathered crowd.
Hello! Oh, it's as loud as... Hello, Lindsay! Hey! Good response. Are we feeling as good as... Yeah! As good as what? Okay, water off. When I say hip, you say hop. Hip! Hop! Hip! Hop! Oh, very nice. I would like to welcome you all to the very first Lindsay Lady Chase.
Yay! Hop! Sorry.
Ever since I was little, people have said to me, Malcolm, they've said, Malcolm, girls can't do steeplechases. Well, we are here to prove them wrong, aren't we, girls?
Yay!
So, if you all take your starting positions, here's the provost. Provost, to start the race.
Start the music, Alok.
Is this going to be long?
Yeah, that's my intro, I want to let it breathe.
Right. That's plenty.
That is the one laugh. I did actually laugh. It's beautiful, that line about just let it breathe. Also, did you notice there's a really subtle, you can just see him nodding along because he does a little,
Yeah.
That's like, oh, that's 8 bars, right, that must be me on. And then he comes on and ruins it.
Yeah.
But that, of course, is Murray Hunter, am I getting that right?
Yeah.
From Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which we slabbed earlier in a previous week. Before I forget, for the solicitors, breathe down our necks, the producer Gus Beattie for Gusman Productions. But here's an oddity. It's also a comedy unit production for BBC Radio 4.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not a tax dodge, but I cannot understand why there's 2 levels of production there. I'm sure there's a reason, but I know it not. Talking of a woman called Malcolm, did you know there's a male character called Bra? There's Bra Jeff, and also previously, I mean, not necessarily this episode, but in the series as a whole, Mutton Jeff, which of course is rhyming slang. There's a load of English people in there. Do you think that's how they get the recommissions for Radio 4 UK-wide?
I don't know how they get the commissions for Radio 4. I've said this so many times until I'm blue in the face, and my face is quite blue now, so I'm not going to say it anymore. I don't know. I have no idea what goes on in their minds or behind closed doors. Can I just mention as well that you said that was the only point you laughed at? I had a couple of laugh out loud moments. not least of the fact that at that point where she starts talking about ladies racing and all the rest of it, Sanjay turns up, the angry young man turns up, saying that it's pure sexist. And somebody says, "Why are you dressed as a walnut?" And he says, "I'm not a giant walnut, I'm a scrotum." And somebody says, "I've been saying that for years."
That's quite good. But it's funnier when you deliver it than when they do, for me.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I don't know, sorry.
There's other loose ends to tie up. Oh,
Yeah.
there's a number of missed lines. And in that clip, I missed that Lady Malcolm's comeback to the Northern Ireland woman who said, as something as what? Which is what we want to ask each time, because that's the very annoying. It's as annoying as that catchphrase
Right.
that Malcolm has. But then Malcolm says something, and I can't hear what it is. And I played it 2-3 times, and I still can't work out what it was.
It is a difficult listen as well, isn't it? Because of accents. I think.
Hard work.
Yeah.
Hard work.
Yeah.
Not just because of accents, though, but it's dense writing.
It is very dense writing, which is a shame because I think there is more than a glimmer of some really brilliant stuff in there, and I kind of think it's like they were already when they said it's one of the subplots they were talking about having a waxworks, and all they were concerned about was there'd be a Barbara Dixon. And then,
well, that's quite an old reference, isn't it?
Yeah,
but we got it.
But that's the joke, isn't it? They start talking about the hierarchy of Scottish stars. Then, so they were going to have 2 Marty Pellows, one young, angry 1980s Marty Pellow, and then the one that came back and did Chicago. And you kind of think, and you said, well, if there's anyone's worth having 2, then it's definitely Pellow. And there's kind of like in the Scottish mind, in the same way that any other nation does, you think, right, okay, what's the hierarchy of stars?
Is he up there with McCartney for them in Scotland?
I guess so.
Or is that the joke that we don't believe that could be the case?
It kind of reverses on itself. I don't know really, but I just love the idea that they kind of like in their own minds they've ranked these people, but all they're worried about is going to be a Barbara Dixon because she's still. Like you say, it's an old reference, but she is still held in high esteem, north of the border. So she's one of our own, as they say. Anyway, is it time to do the numbers?
Well, you already told me what I was going to score it, although you gave 2 versions. Is that, splitting the difference like having 2 Marty Pellows?
No, I
you said 2.5, then you said 2.
But you'll knock half off, I said, and you give it a 2.
All right. So where does 2.5 come from?
Well, you had to knock something off, didn't you? So I had to start somewhere. If I didn't put something on, I couldn't knock something off.
You're a total knockoff.
Go on.
I think I've still got to give it 2.5. I can't. You can be quite mean. You've done 2s. You've done 1. I rarely go below 2.5 because I know, it's a professional product. I want to like it more. There's a part of me that just doesn't give up. And I certainly, there's a good show in there trying to get out. I mean, the line about rolling the cheese is a metaphor for life and the human condition. I mean, what a great thing. Obviously, it's a bit of a joke anyway. That's coming from the mouth of someone who works in a Fags, Mags and Bags shop.
Yeah.
But it's my old phrase, or it's not my phrase, a well-worn phrase, well-worn by me. It's less than the sum of its parts somehow. If they only trust it, they gave it a bit of space and a bit of air around it.
I think if you're, they've written 48 episodes, 9 series. Series 10 is on the way. I think you're doing...
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think you're doing quite well, aren't you, really, in terms of being able to keep it fresh. And we came to that quite the way down the line, and you kind of think... fair dues, fair play to them. I'll surprise you. I'm going to give it 2.5 as well.
How do you know that surprises me?
Well,
what was I meant to think?
Because you were saying that I could be quite mean, and I've given things 2s before, so I thought you were kind of heading towards that way. But I'll give it a 2.5 as well. I think that's a fair number for this particular episode of this show because I completely agree with what you're saying. There's a great show struggling to come out. Maybe part of it is because they are about to do Series 10. Perhaps that's what's that's what's watered it down a little bit. Maybe that's what's making it tougher.
Well, the logic of that would be for us to go back to Series 1 and Series 2 and see if it sounds much fresher and better.
Well, you're not going to do that, are you? Don't be stupid.
But I'm not, because I will have heard bits of it 9 years ago, and it didn't attract me then. And it's still got the annoying, you like it, which isn't a tune.
It is a tune.
It is not a tune.
It is a tune. It's
End
Smiling by the Beta Band.
I don't care how many times you say that. Anyway, am I setting home? Oh, have we done the sums yet? So that's 5 out of
10.
10
Yeah, middle of the road. Middle of the road. So.
Like Barbara Dixon herself, bless
her. Exactly. So, homework for next week then?
Homework for next week. Well, this was, I suppose we had the ladies of Lady Chase, but previous week we had Peep Show, and week before that we had Two Blokes. What was it? Long-running sitcom.
Flight of the Conchords.
Thank you. Yes. I thought it was time for some girls. How about some Derry girls? Because I keep getting people saying, fantastic show. And people whose taste in comedy often coincides with mine, and they are very, very thumbs up for this one. I think maybe it tends to be more females saying it than males, but hey, that's not a reason not to try.
Well, here's the thing. I had this on my list to watch. I have it in my library, and I've had it in my list to watch for a long, long time. In fact, from the start of Series 1, and haven't got around to it. So there you go. You've pushed me into doing something which I plan to do. I wonder, I don't know if you remember Comedy Slab 71, The Young Offenders. Remember when we slabbed that? The two Irish lads?
Oh, were they making noises like that?
What was the name of the? He said Reuben.
That's a boy's name. Is this? Anyway, sorry. How did we get there? There's an overlap.
Yeah, I just wonder it's like, it's that similar kind of age, similar kind of location. It'd be interesting to see how it stacks up. Oh, brilliant! I'm looking forward to that. What have you chosen, episode-wise?
I'm sorry, it's a bit obvious, but going in at the ground floor, and I cannot tell a lie. I'm not sure if I've watched this one. I have watched one episode of Derry Girls, but I want to do a proper slab on it. That was just an idle watch. So Series 1, Episode 1, going in at the ground floor. So Derry Girls, and we should say it's on your favourite app, which you insist on calling awful. That's your joke. You're sticking to it. The rest of us and the English-speaking world called it All 4. It's a Channel 4 show. Likewise, you can stream it, certainly within the UK. Don't know how much geo-blocking they do, but you can discover soon. You can stream it, channel4.com. Derry Girls, Series 1, Episode 1.
These are my pants and I'm sticking to them. Right, if you want to catch up with previous episodes of the Comedy Slab.
I'm shifting nervously.
You're what, nervously?
You heard.
Sorry, it's a bad line.
Yeah, so was yours. Terrible. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be writing for Fags, Mags, and
if you want to catch up with previous episodes, you are welcome. They are less smutty than this, I guarantee, most definitely. You can catch up with us on Spreaker and Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, and lots of other places as well, which I've probably forgotten, but generally wherever you can get your podcast from.
And on anti-social media, we are at Comedy Slab, naturally enough, on Twitter, so do follow us there. Thank you, my namesake, or partial namesake, Adrian Bailey, got in touch. Thank you for your kind comments, Adrian. Do keep listening. And it was interesting, we had a little mini Twitter conversation under the Comedy Slab banner about Count Arthur Strong.
Yeah, he seemed like a quite nice guy as well. And how refreshing to catch up with somebody who doesn't send messages to you on the internet in the equivalent of green pen, which is quite nice.
No, not a single death threat from him yet, but I don't want to tempt fate.
Early days, though. Early days.
Early days.
You know how you rile people.
I think we're doing it now. What do you mean I'm going to get angry with you? Also at Comedy Slab Facebook page, thumbs up to that one if you'd be so kind. And, well, we're preying on your kindness. if you could recommend us to whomever, your circle of friends and beyond, get the word out in the wider world, then that would be hugely appreciated, as would a generous star rating on iTunes. But we don't want to push it, do we, Shane?
No. I don't. He does. But he does have a tendency to rile people. And so until next time on the Comedy Slab.
Can't help it. I'm a born riler peopler.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you for your company. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't, then keep it to yourself. If you have, then let everybody that you know. If you know what I mean. Can we finish on a sing-song?
Well, if it's copyright friendly, yes.
You bought it, you heard it, we heard it.
Oh, no, it's not a sing-song, because it's not a song.